In 1911, 3 buildings rose above the River Mersey and changed what a waterfront could mean. Not just a port. A statement. One of the great capitals of the modern world had arrived, and it wanted the world to know. What came next was a century that defied every expectation. War, catastrophe, silence, revolution, and against every prediction, survival. This is Liverpool's glory, its ruin, and its return. To bring this century back to life, this video uses artificial intelligence to reconstruct how Liverpool looked across the 20th century. Some visual details may not be perfect, but every fact has been carefully researched, and the story is real. At the turn of the 20th century, Liverpool was the second city of the British Empire. More tonnage passed through its docks than any port on earth except London. The cotton exchanges, the shipping offices, the insurance companies, the entire machinery of global trade concentrated on a few streets between the waterfront and the city centre. Between 1903 and 1916, 3 buildings transformed the pierhead into one of the most recognisable waterfronts in the world. The Port of Liverpool building came first, its great dome completed in 1907. Then the Royal Liver building, foundations laid in 1908, opened on the 19th of July 1911. One of the first major structures on Earth built from reinforced concrete, 13 stories, 2 clock towers. And on top of each, an enormous copper bird, 18 feet tall, wings spread over the city and the sea. The clocks were started at the precise moment King George V was crowned. Liverpool stood at the height of its power. It did not know the war approaching would begin its long decline. 200 metres from the pierhead, on James Street, stood the headquarters of the company that owned the world's oceans. The White Star Line, founded in Liverpool, managed from Liverpool, and responsible for the largest ship ever built. The Titanic was registered as a Liverpool vessel. The word Liverpool was painted on her stern. She never visited the city. She sailed from Southampton on her maiden voyage, with a crew of whom at least 1 in 10 came from Merseyside, officers, engineers, stewards, men with families waiting at home. On the morning of the 15th of April, 1912, crowds gathered outside the James Street offices. News from the Atlantic was arriving in fragments. The building was besieged. Around 700 Liverpool families learned that their men would not be coming back. The ship that bore the city's name had taken the city's sons to the bottom of the Atlantic. In the summer of 1940, the German Air Force turned its attention to Britain's ports. Liverpool, the gateway to the Atlantic, became one of its primary targets. Over the following year, the city endured more than 80 raids. Nearly 4,000 people were killed across Merseyside. 70,000 were made homeless in a single week of bombing in May 1941. The headquarters of the Battle of the Atlantic was buried beneath the streets of the city, the nerve centre of Britain's lifeline to America. Churchill himself later said that if the German attacks on Liverpool had continued, the Battle of the Atlantic would have been even more closely run. The port did not fall. In the autumn of 1940, in the middle of the worst months of the bombing, a boy was born in a maternity hospital in the city. His name was John Lennon. The war that was destroying Liverpool was also, without knowing it, creating the conditions for something the world had never heard before. The children of the Blitz grew up in a city of ruins and ration books. They were poor, they were restless, and they were hungry for something beyond the wreckage around them. American rock and roll arrived through sailors and radio signals crossing the Atlantic, and Liverpool devoured it. By the early 1960s, the city had over 200 active beat groups, more than anywhere else in Britain. A fruit warehouse on Matthew Street had been converted into a music club in 1957, its cellar carved from the same sandstone that had sheltered families during the bombing. It was called the Cavern Club. 4 young men from the working streets of Liverpool played there 292 times between 1961 and 1963. They called themselves the Beatles. When they left, the world had changed. If this kind of work, the research, the reconstruction, the storytelling means something to you, becoming a member of the channel would mean a great deal for its development. The Beatles left. And then, slowly, so did everything else. The containerization of shipping in the mid-1960s made the old docklands obsolete. Tens of thousands of dock jobs vanished within a decade. By the mid-80s, unemployment in Liverpool had reached around double the national average, some of the highest figures recorded anywhere in Britain. In certain neighbourhoods, the rate among young people was far higher still. In July 1981, 9 nights of serious disorder erupted in the Toxteth district, driven by unemployment, poverty, and deep tensions between the community and the police. For the first time on the British mainland, police deployed CS gas against civilians. 500 people were arrested. 1 man died. Documents released years later revealed that senior government officials had privately proposed a policy of managed decline for Liverpool to let the city contract rather than invest in its recovery. The Chancellor wrote that pouring resources into Merseyside would be like trying to make water flow uphill. Liverpool refused. The Albert Dock, abandoned since the early 70s, was restored and reopened through the 1980s. The Tate Gallery arrived on the waterfront, the Maritime Museum, the International Slavery Museum. Millions of visitors came. In 2008, the city was named European Capital of Culture, and what had been a punchline became a destination. In 2004, Liverpool's waterfront was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 2021, it became only the 3rd site in the world to lose that status, the price of approving a major new football stadium in the historic North Docks. The city chose regeneration over designation, and the debate about what that choice means continues. Today, the pierhead still stands. The 3 Graces still face the river. The liverbirds still watch over the sea and the city. Liverpool has been the second city of an empire, the world's most famous music city, and a warning about what happens when industry collapses without a plan. It is now something harder to name, a city that has buried its dead, rebuilt what it could, and decided once again to face the water.